If you've ever caught yourself yelling and think to yourself, why am I always like this? Then this video is for you. As parents, it's so easy to blame our kids for our own emotions and reactions. However, if we're going to be brutally honest, our frustrations and our reactions towards our kids' behaviour is almost always on us. Now, that's not to say our kids can't push boundaries and wind us up and frustrate us. Absolutely they can. But I think what I'm trying to get at within this video is if we're constantly blaming our kids for our own reactions, then we're unable to move forward and be intentional about improving our own reactions towards our kids. So if you constantly find yourself low on patience, snapping and yelling at your child, then firstly, you're not alone. Secondly, this video is for you because I'm going to explore 9 quick and easy steps that you can take to start being intentional with making change towards yourself and your own reactions towards your children. If you're new here, hi, I'm Tom from The Dad Vibes, and I create content to help parents feel more confident, but also to help them reduce stress and start parenting without punishment, yelling or guilt. So let's jump into the first video of 2026 and explore 9 ways for you to stop yelling at your kids. So number 1, and that's identify your triggers. Now this is a really interesting one because engaging with thousands of parents over the last 5 or 6 years over on The Dad Vibes on Instagram, it's clear that every single parent has got their own trigger. So often I've shared something completely flippantly on Instagram and I've been inundated with messages from parents saying, how are you doing this? This is a huge trigger for me. So to give a few examples, it might be playing outside with my kids and they're covered in mud, playing in their mud kitchen outside. Often parents are like, I would never be able to do this. This is a huge trigger for me. For other parents who maybe get touched out and overwhelmed very quickly, whining and nagging can become a huge trigger, cause them to bubble up, escalate, and then ultimately yell at their children. You've got emotional outbursts from kids. Some parents really struggle to remain calm during the height of that emotional outburst, be it a meltdown or a tantrum. For other parents, it might be refusal to listen, so you're trying to engage with your child, but it feels like they're proactively trying to ignore you. Now, I get that all I've done is just listed out a bunch of triggers there, but I think what I'm trying to get at here is that when we're caught up in the cycle of life, the rat race, if you will, of life, where you're at work, you're trying to get your kids out to school, you're trying to get them to bed, you're trying to clean the house, it can be really difficult to take a step back and really understand why you feel like you're struggling in that moment. So this is just a reminder that identifying your triggers is the first step to making intentional change. So if you take anything away from this video, then carve out 5-10 minutes at the end of the day if you feel like you've had one of those days, and I'm sure you're aware of what I mean when I say one of those days where your kids are finally falling asleep and it's like a weight's lifted, you can breathe, and you're thinking to yourself, what the was that? What a day. And we all have those days where it feels like we're constantly being triggered, seemingly minute after minute. So I think what I want you to do, as I've said, if you take away anything from this video, then try to identify your triggers, because once you do that, you can start to make positive steps forward in improving the way you react to your child. Okay, number 2. Now this one might seem fluffy and it's definitely done the rounds on social media. You've seen the quotes, but it's pausing before reacting. So I want to explain a little bit about this. I think I had this actually a few nights ago with our youngest, who's 3, who we were laying together. I was waiting for her to drift off to sleep and she just wouldn't fall asleep. She was kicking, she wanted to go to the toilet, then she wanted to poo, then she wanted a drink. And I think by this point it was almost 9 p.m. and I was like, I took a breath, I paused because I just wanted to say, Mia, go to sleep, please. But I just paused, I took a breath, and then I was able to just rationalize in that pause what was going on. Clearly she was overtired, clearly she wanted to fall asleep, she was doing her best, bless her. I was getting frustrated because I was tired after a long day, we'd been swimming, we'd been out for a stressful lunch. Yeah, it was a lot, but the pause was enough for me to actually just take a breath, and just let things play out. And obviously, inevitably, she fell asleep with the minutes that followed. And if I didn't take that pause and if I reacted negatively, she probably would have reacted to my reaction and things could have escalated out of control. Pausing before reacting is such an important one because you create that space. You create that space to rationalize what's going on, and actually you give yourself time to think about how you want to respond instead of reacting quickly, which is often negatively. So what I want to do now is I want to share a very important quote from prolific positive parenting author Rebecca Eanes, and it reads, "In between every action and reaction, there is a space. Usually the space is extremely small because we react so quickly. But take notice of that space and expand it. Be aware in that space that you have a choice to make. You can choose how to respond and choose wisely, because the next step you take will teach your child how to handle their anger and could either strengthen or damage your relationship." So as I've said, by pausing, we open up that space to rationalize what's going on. Often, as I've said in step one, it's probably rationalizing not only your child's behavior, but your own triggers. Okay, I'm being triggered here. They're making a mess. Actually, they're just playing and having fun. We can put those clothes in the wash if we need to. Let them play because they're having a fantastic time. I could react negatively here. I could tell them to stop, but that could escalate things out of control. Do I want to do that, or is this on me? So this is a really important one. Pause before reacting. Number 3, and this is a really important awareness piece, and that's that boundary pushing is completely normal. Now, it's difficult to deal with, and I know parents that are thrust into toddlerhood, certainly when their baby finds their feet and they start toddling around and really start testing the limits of their world and exploring the world around them, they'll start pushing boundaries. But we need to remember that our toddlers and our kids have no frame of reference of the world around them. They don't know where the boundaries are. They don't know where the goalposts are. And it's on us to be clear and consistent with those boundaries so that they grow and they learn and they feel safe and they understand where those boundaries are. And I'll be creating a whole array of videos around boundaries and the importance of boundaries, because ultimately they impact our child's behavior. Because if we're inconsistent with our boundaries, if we're continually moving the goalposts, if we're continually dropping boundaries some days, if there's two parents who are completely misaligned on the boundaries, then the child becomes confused. They feel unsafe. They start pushing harder because they know that yesterday they pushed that boundary and the parent dropped it. But ultimately, it's on us to be what Dr. Becky Kennedy calls a sturdy parent and continually hold consistent boundaries for our kids, for their behavior, for their safety. Could be anything to do with nutrition, for example. It's really important to note that certainly in my world on Instagram, that often people assume if you're promoting parenting with respect, parenting without punishment, that you're promoting weak or permissive parent, but absolutely not. It's all about being that sturdy parent who holds clear and consistent boundaries. And to do that, acknowledging that boundary pushing is completely normal. Our child isn't going to be happy with every boundary we set, and that's absolutely okay. They can be unhappy about a boundary, but it doesn't mean it's going to be moved. So remember 2 things on this point. Boundary pushing is completely normal. Our kids are always going to push boundaries. However, the intensity of that boundary pushing as they get older reduces when we're clear, consistent and sturdy with holding our boundaries. Step number 4, and I'm going to rattle through this one because I covered it before. So step number 3 was identifying that boundary pushing is completely normal. Step number 4 is that acknowledging as a parent it's okay to set boundaries. And as I've said in the previous point, we need to set boundaries as parents. We need to be clear and consistent with our boundaries. And when we get comfortable with our children pushing back on the boundaries that we set, that intensity will reduce and it will become an absolute game changer, because ultimately it gives our child some consistency and some structure. Okay, step number 5, and that's respond rationally. not reactively. So I want to give a huge caveat here that I'm certainly not promoting or endorsing that we need to be a consistent level of calm all of the time. It's really important that our children see us being our true, authentic selves. I'm certainly not calm all of the time. I react negatively sometimes to my kids, but this is all about progress. Parenting is all about progress, not perfection. But what I want to promote here is, if we take an example, so let's say our child is at the height of an emotional outburst, they're really struggling. Now, what we need to try and do, by rolling back through the previous steps, pausing before reacting, identifying our triggers, acknowledging that we can set and hold a clear and consistent boundary, even if they're at the height of that emotional outburst. If we can take a breath, pause, rationalize what's going on, and respond calmly, then ultimately, much like when a grown adult is having a panic attack, our calming presence will reduce that fight or flight stress response that our child is going through. It might not happen immediately, but ultimately what a child needs when they're really dysregulated and completely out of control is a calming presence. And in that moment, when we are calm and responsive, even when our child is at the height of an emotional outburst, we're modeling emotional regulation. And that's not something that's going to change or impact them overnight, but consistently meeting them with that level of calm will help bring their stress response down. And then when it comes down and they're back to a calm state, then we can talk to them and have that discussion about whether it was inappropriate behavior, what caused the emotional outburst. Certainly, I think what we've been taught traditionally as parents is when a child is at that height of that emotional outburst, that's when we need to go in and lecture. That's when we need to teach them right from wrong. But unfortunately, they can't access the part of the brain responsible for logical thinking. So save your breath. Pause, work on yourself when it feels like you need to do work on your child. A calming presence is more than enough. If they don't want you by them, because often our children say, "Go away, I don't want you around me," just let them know that you're emotionally there in a calm manner. And eventually they'll come to a place where their stress response reduces, and then they'll come to you and you can talk to them. And certainly as they grow older and they become a lot more emotionally complex, and when you start modeling emotional regulation, and we'll get into a little bit later about apologizing and things like that, depending on what the cause of the emotional outburst was, they'll come to a place when they're ready to reconnect. They might even apologize, because that's where we want to get to. Okay, step 6 is bringing all the steps together, and that's being in a place during the most stressful and challenging parenting situations where you're able to set the boundary rationally. So let's give an example. Your child wants a bag of sweets before dinner. If sweets are a thing that you give your children and you say no, an emotional outburst hits, you're in a place where you don't snap, "Get out the kitchen, I've said no sweets, go and sit down, you're going to eat your dinner, you're not having anything before we finish dinner." So just appreciate that you can set the boundary, you can set it calmly. Your child can be unhappy with it, but unfortunately they're going to have to accept it. And when you're calm, when you're consistent, this becomes so much easier. And as I've mentioned before, the intensity of those impulsive reactions from our kids certainly reduces over time. Step 7, and that's rinse and repeat. So I just want to stress, this isn't going to be a magical formula. This is going to be something that you need to continually work on. And when it comes to setting the boundary, as I've said, your child might not be happy with it, but you do need to rinse and repeat, because after a minute or two, you might start feeling triggered. Certainly if whining or not listening is one of your triggers, and then you might want to escalate out of control yourself and start yelling at your child. But again, rinse and repeat the previous steps. Appreciate that boundary pushing is normal. Pausing gives yourself time to rationalize what's going on, but also continue to hold the boundary. And if it's getting too much, talk to your child. Say, "I just need to take myself away for 30 seconds whilst you calm down." Maybe you want to go a little bit further away from your child and just take a breath. Acknowledge that it's not a magical formula and that you will need to rinse and repeat the previous steps. We're almost there, the penultimate step, and that's give yourself space to be human. I think as parents, we're navigating an interesting time that we're constantly inundated all day, every day with parenting content, bite-sized quotes, guides, worksheets, videos, books. But at the end of the day, use all of this to help you make small incremental improvements to your reactions, the way you interact with your child, because the ultimate goal isn't perfection. It doesn't exist. We're only human. But as I say all of the time over on Instagram, parenting is all about progress, not perfection. And also we need to layer in that it's super important for our children to see us being our true, authentic selves. And that leads me nicely into the final step, and that is step number 9, learning to apologize to our child. This is such a difficult one for many parents because they see themselves as the parent. Why do I need to acknowledge that I've done something wrong? I'm the one that sets the rules. I'm the one that rules the roost. I'm the one that pays the mortgage. My child needs to listen and do as they're told. But we need to acknowledge that the most important gift we can give our child is the gift of an apology, because we're teaching them that we're human. We're teaching them that humans make mistakes, and we're teaching them that as humans who make mistakes, we can be accountable for those mistakes, apologize, and move forward. So try and remember as well that by modeling repair, by apologizing to our child, we're actually modeling what a healthy relationship looks like, which is going to be so crucial as our kids grow older and start forming relationships of themselves. If we let them know that humans make mistakes, but when they make mistakes, they need to actually be accountable for those mistakes, then it will be really crucial for their mental health as they get older, because they'll be able to navigate those relationships better and manage those relationships better as well. And also it will help them respond to people with compassion, with empathy as they engage, as they grow older. And there we have it, my first video of 2026. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you want me to keep showing up in 2026. The aim is to throw out a video every single week to help parents be more confident, to help reduce that parental stress, and ultimately to help parents parent without yelling or punishment, or even guilt for that matter. If you want to dive deeper, you can visit thedadvibes.com/toolkits, where I've got resources that have been downloaded and helped over 60,000 parents all over the world. Or you can head over to Instagram and join over 700,000 followers, where I show up every day in my stories and also share content every day as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next.